Every one of us can be an Anam Cara just by assisting or being a mentor, guide, a helpful person to someone at work, someone in your family, to yourself. And that is not something you need qualifications for or a title. You don't need wealth, you don't need status for that. Lovely bird. I'm reading a book called the Anam Ċara. And the first chapter has just occasioned me to do an episode. No doubt I'll do episodes on other chapters. And there's a lot he's talking about. He's talking about the mystery of friendship. Hello there.
Going to take a photo of the tide coming in.
I'm filming, yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
It's going to take a long time.
Are you off out on the boat? Fishing?
No, we've got a little trap line that runs from the end of the reserve there right around the point.
Wow. How long's that?
It's only about 15 traps or so.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do you catch?
Rats. We caught one stoat, and here we caught a stoat once. A few possums, but long ago. We haven't got possums recently, so that's a good thing. But if you wanted more peaceful, you could go around, but you've got to watch the tide.
How many are you? You're all...
Just the two.
Just the two.
We might be three. We're just waiting for another one, maybe.
You'll be up to your knees in mud.
No. That's why we do it at low tide.
So I reset and I've come out, and it was a wonderful little place along the river there. And it was nice talking to the lady and the ladies who turned up to do the ratting, and hopefully they'll get a few possums. There's a thing in New Zealand where they want to try and get rid of the rats by 2050. So, Anam Ċara, soul friend, the spiritual wisdom from the Celtic world. There's a lot to talk about here. And in the first chapter specifically, as I was about to say, light is a major thing that's talked about in the book. And that the ancients, and he references Hebrew thought and Christian thought and Celtic thought, and how they blended together. And he talks about light as being not just seen as the divine, but also the spark within us, and that we need light to survive. We can't thrive in darkness. We're just not that way developed. And also he talks about light being seen by the ancients as thought. And it's the light bulb above the head when you have an idea. So therefore, what I linked was, in the Bible, in Genesis, it says, in the beginning, God said, let there be light. You could equally say, let there be thought. And if our thinking, our mind, which is in us, is the link to the divine, which he seems to be saying in the book, it's quite profound, and that light is very important to us. We thrive out in the light. And then he talks about the light of friendship and how it can help us, the mystery of friendship from the Celtic perspective and what it means to have a friend, how important it is, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. So the book made John O'Donoghue famous enough that when this came out at the 25th anniversary, Irish president did the foreword. Yeah, 2022, because it first came out in 1997. I'd never heard of this book until I came across it in a bookshop, and it called me on the shelves. Don't know why. I think it was because it mentioned the Celtic world. There's a word in here, fecund, And of course, if you have ever heard of a program called Father Ted, you'll know that feck is used a lot in that. Of course, my grandmother, Uma, would say Hund for a dog. Feck Hund. Tickles me. But anyway, that aside. Beautifully written. It caught attention because the absolute beauty of the language. He was a philosopher and he blended philosophical, especially Germanic idealism with obviously his Celtic background. I think he went to Tübingen to do university, masters and whatever. Now, it's not that big a book, but there's so much in here, I thought, yes, if I'm going to commit doing episodes, rather than doing one on what's in here, there's far too much in here, a bit like, The Republic and other books. For myself to do one episode, I can't do it. I'm useless at that. I have to do many, many episodes. And this is definitely going to be one of many. And it's just about the prologue and the first chapter, The Mystery of Friendship. So, let's go through it. He skips and jumps. And in the first chapter about Anam Ċara, this old Celtic idea of having somebody that you can walk alongside with you as being very important. He gets a while to get there. So he goes through some things, and individually it's probably just worth talking about. A lot of this is a mixing of traditions that I'm not necessarily part of, but I personally accept and think are useful to take on board. If you didn't know anything about the book, you just picked it up. This is the first sentence. It is strange to be here. Behind your image, below your words, above your thoughts, the silence of another world awaits. A world lives within you. Not outside there, not up here. It's in us. No one else can bring you news of this inner world. We're not just the physical, we are the non-physical, the mind. He's going to talk a lot about, in this prologue and the opening chapter, of moving from darkness to light, which is why I went down to the river, to get that quality of light. Light is so important to us. Words are the oblique mirrors that hold your thoughts. You gaze into these word mirrors and catch glimpses of meaning. Behind their bright surfaces is the dark and the silence. Words are like the god Janus. They face outward and inward at once. They're not just what we read in a book. They are outward and inward looking. So the outward is what comes to me. The author, in this case, John O'Donoghue, or any other author, just reaching over for another Irishman, Spike Milligan, those words come from the author and they're trying to have meaning. Then as the reader, we take them into ourselves and we've got to jumble around and make sense of them. So they're two-way, and that's a brilliant thing to be reminded of. And he talks a lot about the internal as being more important than the external, the 3D world as such. Why? Because like he says here, if we become addicted to the external, our interiority will haunt us. Okay, that's just part of the prologue. So where's this going? He starts off in the first chapter about light, but it's to do with the mystery of friendship. And I started reading this and I thought, okay, where's the friendship then? He gets to it eventually. It is one of the tragedies, he says, of modern culture that we have lost touch with those primal thresholds of nature. The urbanization of modern life has succeeded in exiling us from this fecund, there's that word, fecund kinship with our Mother Earth. We're exiles from ourselves. Well, we're certainly exiles from the earth, according to this. But then he talks about our spiritual exile is more intense. In our mediocrity and distraction, we forget that we are privileged to live in a wondrous universe. Now, this is typical John O'Donoghue, beautifully constructed language, talking about how we exile ourselves from everything around us, but more importantly from ourselves. He goes on to talk about the risks that if we harden our hearts, if we shut up love. Love is key throughout the whole of the book. Love for ourselves and love for others, and especially a soul friend. If we stop that, if we just go for a mad rush of titles and wealth, we exile ourselves, from our soul. As I got to that part, I thought, okay. Know our place, what we're really here for. Remember what this is. It's just a 3D manifestation of what's more important, which is inside the soul. You'll get that in any tradition, modern or ancient. He then will start bringing in Celtic ideas and Celtic thought, ancient thought. And again, it's this journey from dark to light. You often come across it, it's become a trope. What kind of unique viewpoints is this author going to bring to our understanding? And he says the following. We are always on a journey from darkness into light. At first, we are children of the darkness. Your body and your face, and the face is going to be very important here. Your face were formed first in the kind darkness of your mother's womb. Your birth was the first journey from darkness into light. I don't think we can argue with that. Then all your life, your mind lives within the darkness of your body. Every thought that you have is a flint moment. So that striking of the flint and then a spark going off, like a light, little piece of fire. A spark of light, he says, from your inner darkness. Wonderful. Each day is a journey. We come out of the night into the day. It's like a resetting. Every morning, we've had some sleep into the light of day, and it's like a reset. That's gone now. It's the past, and you've got a new beginning, a new journey into light. This ancient rhythm, I think it's called circadian rhythm now. The year is also a journey with the same rhythm, the circular nature of our journey, out of the darkness of winter, into the possibility and effervescence of springtime. Beautiful language. So, this circularity, every minute, every hour, every day, every year, is circle, 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 dark to light, dark to light. Ultimately, light is the mother of life. Where there is no light, there can be no life. Light is the secret presence of the divine. The soul awakens and lives in light. Once human beings began to search for a meaning to life, light became one of the most powerful metaphors to express the eternity and depth of life. In the Western tradition, and indeed in the Celtic tradition, thought has often been compared to light. In its luminosity, the intellect was deemed to be the place of the divine within us. That light bulb. Bing! We can dim our own light. We can dim the light around us. We can put ourselves in darkness. Don't want to be seen. We hide. We avert our gaze. And what's interesting, he talks about the face, I've mentioned it just now, that the face is what really is the divine in us. It's that when we look at people's eyes and the face, we see light or not in there. And quite challenging stuff. Never become trapped, caught, or entangled in false inner networks of negativity, resentment, destruction towards itself. I have come through study and books to understand the idea of high consciousness thinking and low consciousness thinking. So high consciousness would be love, gratitude, forgiveness, creativity. The low level consciousness would be fear, doubt, negative feelings, deficit theorizing. Shutting yourself away. And that is common. I've had many periods in which that happened. I shut myself away. I was convinced I didn't want to go out. I've known members of my family that became agoraphobic, didn't want to go out and to be seen. And it's because I think what had happened, and what John O'Donoghue talks about, is that as beings, as we're growing up, we can suffer trauma that makes us go that way. Challenge is to get rid of that and to step into the light. And it's very emotional at this point. I can see how this is not going to appeal to a lot of people. But I think you strip away the language that he's using, the beautiful language, it's something that we all struggle with as human beings, don't we? We're emotional beings, and we can very easily go into the dark emotions and not come out of them. And then he talks about the human face, as I mentioned. He said, "It is here, in this icon of human presence, that divinity in creation comes nearest to itself." The human face is the icon of creation. Now, some people can give the public impression of giving to others, but be empty inside. Immensely sad, lost, ill at ease, in a slump, midlife crisis, stress. Through some hurt, a door has slammed shut within the heart, and you are powerless to unlock it and receive love. It amazes me that being written, it caught the attention in its time. That something that is so fundamentally human about us requires somebody to keep mention in a book to get people's attention, and to perhaps nudge us back on the bumper rails into a stream of life that is more joyous and joyful rather than negative, hate, fear-mongering. And I can see why it caught on. It's amazing. I think when I got to this point, page 7, I read this, it like a punch to the stomach. "You can be very successful in this world, be admired by everyone, have endless possessions, a lovely family, success in your work, and have everything the world can give, but behind it all, you can be completely lost and miserable. If you have everything the world has to offer you, but you do not have love, then you are the poorest of the poorest of the poor." I was in my 50s when I began to accept that. I'm thankful that I did find it, because I know people older than me who have never found it. And it was hard work. It was when I went into the dark night of the soul, and it made me receptive because it stripped away all this false ego and vanity that status and wealth and titles and money gives us. What's really required? One person that you could befriend and follow through life. But at the same time, you don't even need a physical friend. This could be yourself, your inner being as a friend. And he writes here, "A friend is someone who wishes what is good for the other. All the possibilities of your human destiny are asleep in your soul. You are here to realize and honor these possibilities." And if you are in darkness, you're not going to realize that. You won't see it. Then he gets finally on page 9 to the Anam Ċara. "The Anam Ċara experience opens a friendship that is not wounded or limited by separation or distance. Such friendship can remain alive even when the friends live far away from each other. Because they have broken through the barriers of persona and egoism to the soul level, the unity of their souls is not equally severed. Even across distance, two friends can stay attuned to each other and continue to sense the flow of each other's lives. In this soul space, there is no distance. The spirit inside us is not physical. It's 5D. There may be separation because of distance on the body, but the soul, there is no distance because it's non-physical. And in fact, he needs to explain that a bit more, and he does, because he talks about the fact that we're not souls in a body, which seems to be the common way of seeing it. It's the other way round. We're bodies in a soul. So if we met in a room, when I come over to you and you come over to me and we hold out our hands for a handshake, until we physically touch, there's no connection as such. But the souls have touched before we ever get anywhere near each other, because they're not bound by physicality. He says that in the book. That's an amazing thing to know. Therefore, we're not bound by distance. Each of us searches for love. We often choose such false ways to satisfy this deep hunger. An excessive concentration on our work, achievements, or spiritual quest can actually lead us away from the presence of love. We need to be still and let love discover us. And then he mentioned, because he's a Catholic, the letter, Paul's letter to the Corinthians, Love is always patient and kind. Love is never boastful or conceited. It is never rude or selfish. It does not take offence and is not resentful. Love is always ready to excuse, to trust, to hope, and to endure whatever comes. And therefore, the Anam Cara. If you can find somebody who is like that, never judges, is always there for you, you're blessed. In the early Celtic church, a person who acted as a teacher, companion, or spiritual guide was called an Anam Ċara. A teacher could be a parent, doesn't have to be a friend. Soul friend perhaps is the wrong word. We're not talking your best mate. It's somebody who can guide you. So someone on BookTube who may have been a teacher, Pat, Book Chat with Pat was next teacher. And she once said about helping somebody in a lesson. That means she's an Anam Ċara. If you're a parent and you have helped children and perhaps other children who are not yours, you're an Anam Ċara. If you are a pastor, you're an Anam Ċara, if it's done through love. If you are just a mate or acquaintance, someone at work, and you've helped them, you have shown Anam Ċara. And how beneficial it is to societies. The ancients knew it. Have we forgotten it? He said, there is no cage for the soul. The soul is the divine light that flows into you and into your other. By helping someone else, and therefore them helping you, it's a two-way street, you're doing what we're here to do. O'Donoghue draws on a lot of philosophy. He mentions the mystic Meister Eckhart, who writes beautifully about the temptation of status. He says, many people wonder where they should be and what they should do, when in fact they should be more concerned about how to be. Less doing, more being. Being a true, authentic soul. And he gives right at the end, a stark warning about the modern world, the modern sense of science and empiricism, logic. If you keep shining the neon light of analysis and accountability on the tender tissue of your belonging, you make it parched and barren. So, every one of us, if I've got this right, can be an Anam Ċara, just by assisting or being a mentor, a guide, a helpful person to someone at work, someone in your family, to yourself. And that is not something you need qualifications for or a title. You don't need wealth, you don't need status for that. And in reverse, if we can accept help, because some people can't, ego gets in the way, vanity, they'll stop people helping them because they feel as though, do you think I need charity or something like that? No. And it's that connection with other people in the community to help and help each other that perhaps we're losing. Perhaps it's something we need to remind ourselves that it's not me, it's we. And that is what makes a community. That's why we clump together to help each other. We like order. We like imposing our sensibility and ergonomics on the landscape. But it's for our benefit. And it's not just my benefit. It's for the benefit of others. So I find Anam Ċara perplexing, wonderfully written, challenging, needful. There's a friendship blessing at the end. I won't read all of it. May you be blessed with good friends. May you learn to be a good friend to yourself. May you be able to journey to that place in your soul where there is great love, warmth, feeling, and forgiveness. May this change you. May it transfigure that which is negative, distant, or cold in you. May you be brought into the real passion, kinship, and affinity of belonging. May you treasure your friends. Wonderful book. One of those classics. But it's a challenge. And that's probably why it's worth a read. I'll do more down the line. Until then, ta-ta for now.